Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Utah colleges go nuclear, fire DEI staff, cancel pronouns, and all diversity statements. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. From the Washington Post, Utah law targeting DEI leads university to close LGBT and women's centers. But those really weren't the target. They're just kind of what happens when the state is forced to fight against the DEI agenda and close down everything that's discriminatory against certain students and certain groups. All students in Utah need to be treated the same, and that's what the law says. The effects of a Utah law rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion programs at public colleges are beginning to emerge. When Beckett Harris started college at the University of Utah, the school's LGBT center quickly became the most important spot on campus for her. A place where she studied, made friends, and never had to worry about how people would react to learning she was transgender. Okay, that's great, but if you want to be yourself, you can kind of be yourself. What you can't do is ask the state to spend government money giving you a place to do your own thing and make your friends and you have to create your own social groups. You can't say that the state government is responsible for creating a, quote, safe space so that you can normalize whatever it is that you want to do with your life. You have to be normal in your own mind. You can't insist that the government provides a place that you can go, that you can feel comfortable at the exclusion of other students. Beckett Harris was devastated to learn this week that the center is closing, along with one for students for underrepresented racial and religious communities and another for women in response to a new state law that rolls back diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in public schools and universities. Because the state is forced to pay for it. Everyone in that state needs to share the expense to pay for something that's discriminatory. That's unfair, and that's why they stopped it. Well, what am I going to do without my space on campus? How's my friend group going to stay together, said Harris, who finished her sophomore year this spring. It's attacking the space that's very personal to me. Well, you can't, again, rely on this state. I went to college. I wasn't expecting the government to create a space that my friends and I could play at. Students, kids have been arranging places they could meet up and socialize for a very long time. They don't need a special place financed by the government for them to hang out. That's literally what this is about. Across Utah, public schools, universities, and government agencies must make shifts to comply with the law, which is already in effect. The state becomes the latest where Republican legislators have restricted DEI programs amid a broader conservative effort to limit what is taught in schools and make diversity programs a flashpoint in the nation's political debate. No, it's to really just stop it already with creating multiple classes of people and dividing people and giving some benefits to some people and not giving benefits to other people. The country doesn't like this. It's creating a lot of tension and also creating unrealistic expectations, like this student saying, well, who's going to create a play space for me? How am I going to make my new friends? Where are me and my friends going to meet up? That's an age-old question. You don't go to the government and say, where can I meet up with my friends? I know it's more difficult for certain people, but we all have challenges in our life. That should be the biggest challenge that anyone has in their life. Where can I go to meet up with my friends now that the government isn't sponsoring a place that we can hang out and play? Laws in other states have forced some universities to eliminate programs and jobs, and more commonly, to change hiring practices, such as ending requirements for diversity statements from job candidates. This state in particular, Utah, according to the University of Utah's website, says exactly this. The law, which was signed by Governor Spencer Cox on January 30th, eliminates central offices dedicated to equity, diversity, and inclusion, and prohibits policies, procedures, practices, programs, or initiatives that are referred to as diversity, equity, and inclusion. The law prohibits the use of diversity statements or commitments in hiring or admissions processes and requires that dedicated resource centers serve all students. Some type of change to diversity requirements or programs has been made already at 164 college campuses in 23 states since January 2023, according to a tally by the Chronicle of Higher Education. At the University of Utah, administrators said they've had less than 2 months. The bill passed in January, but the state higher education office's guidance about how to comply with the law came down in May, giving them only 2 months to make final decisions about how to reorganize their staff and services. The school won't lose its student services and will continue holding cultural events, but complying with the law will require a significant change in approach, administrators said. And we love to hear this. Quote, "This definitely is having a profound impact," according to Lori McDonald, Vice President for Student Affairs. The Utah law labeled services for different communities, racial, ethnic, religious, gender-based, or sexuality-based, as discriminatory. Although it left their funding in place, it effectively directed schools to reorganize those services, such as mental health, career and scholarship help, under generalized campus centers catering to all students. Furthermore, the state's guidance indicated those services couldn't operate in centers that also did cultural programming. See, these legislators in Utah are wise to all of the games. They know what things people do to try to get around the laws, try to get around the rules, and it's not working in Utah. At the University of Utah, school officials said that means closing its specialized centers in favor of 2 umbrella offices, one for all cultural programming and another for all student services. The school's division of equity, diversity, and inclusion has been eliminated. About 45 staff were affected, many of whom will be reassigned to the 2 new centers. Quote, "This is not the path we would have chosen," quote, "but it's our calling to rise to the challenges of the day and find a better way forward." On Friday, a farewell was planned for the university's LGBT Resource Center, which asked supporters to join us to laugh, cry, and celebrate its 21-year run. An Instagram post advertising the goodbye party drew dozens of comments and broken heart emojis. Dozens of comments is not really that many comments. Maybe they didn't really need this center. But you know something? If this was just a small part of what was going on at the college, and the administrators really felt it should stay in place, it could have stayed in place if they didn't push this diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda so hard. You push it so hard to the point where you force people to speak, you force diversity statements, pledging allegiance to your agenda, and you think eventually people aren't going to try to stop that, especially in a red state? Of course they're going to try to stop that. I think all students should be funded and treated equally. I don't believe in these specialty centers. It doesn't do well for people to treat them like they have a handicap. They don't have a handicap. If they're different and they love themselves, that's great. They can just be themselves. But don't ask the government to pay for it. And don't make people feel like they need to be coddled and treated like they're entitled for their education, their professional careers, and the rest of their lives. Quote, "I'm starting school in the fall and I'm so upset this won't be a resource for our community," one person wrote. Another said, "Every single person in this building made me feel at home." Added a third, "I found support here when there was nowhere else." Well, I mean, again, this is really just funding. No one's saying it's illegal. The government, though, is saying you're not allowed to fund something like this. So you guys could get together and raise the money. You could find someone in your special community, whatever it is. Just put some effort into it and don't expect the government and the rest of the taxpayers to pay for all this for you. Along with the LGBT Resource Center, the university's Women's Resource Center and the Center for Equity and Student Belonging will close. Both the Women's Center and the Center for Equity and Student Belonging, previously known as an Ethnic Student Affairs Center, had been in operation for more than 50 years, the school administrator noted. And look what you've ruined. You had one place that was open for 21 years as a resource to people, another place for 50 years. People got some additional benefits at those places, but no, you've pushed it too hard and now you've lost all of it. The law doesn't mandate the closure of student centers, allowing them to stay open as cultural centers as long as they don't also provide student services. Utah State Rep Katie Hall said some universities had chosen to close centers to better meet the goals of the law. The idea of leaving the centers open without providing the services they were created to house felt disingenuous, McDonald said. And university officials weren't sure staff would be left to run them after some employees moved to the Student Services Center. Well, you guys need to figure all this out. Just follow the law. They knew this law was coming. It was passed in January. Specifics weren't out until May, but they knew the law was being discussed, and they know they're in a red state, and they know they pushed things too far with the agenda. They should have been planning for this. The university plans to keep its Black Cultural Center open. Staff are working on how it will operate under the law as a gathering place, McDonald said. Those plans will have to be approved by the state, university officials said. The law does not affect classroom instruction, academic freedom, or academic research, the Utah System of Higher Education said in its guidance. And that's fine. If a teacher wants to talk about an agenda and they want to talk about diversity and whatever it is they want to talk about as part of their class, And as part of classroom instruction, that's fine. We've been teaching communism, Marxism, all kinds of crazy theories in colleges before. They can continue discussing these ideas in an academic context. Just don't push it out as a requirement to function in school, especially when the school receives funding from the state. This spring, lawmakers in Alabama and Iowa passed similar bills to restrict DEI programs, and Wyoming removed state funding for the state university's DEI office, forcing its closure. In mid-June, Republican members of Congress introduced a bill proposing to end all federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and pull funding from government agencies, schools, and others with DEI programs. The law's passage in Utah played to the more conservative wing of a divided Republican Party, said Michael Lyons, a political science professor at Utah State University. In an election year, Governor Spencer Cox and other GOP lawmakers faced the need to win over party delegates in Utah's caucus-based nominating process. Quote, "It's not surprising to see them take very conservative positions," he said. Upon signing the bill, Cox said it offered a balanced solution by repurposing funding to help all Utah students succeed regardless of their background. Representative Hall, the bill's sponsor, said on the House floor that the measure came about because she had heard serious concerns about the landscape at our higher education institutions from students and many professors. Hall went on to say, quote, "I hope that students who benefited from these centers in the past know that the expectation is that they will still be able to receive the services and support that they need to succeed." Utah House Minority Leader Angela Romero said she feared the bill would end up erasing people and identities, noting in a floor debate that she might not have succeeded at the University of Utah if not for the support of the Ethnic Student Center. Free speech advocates have also said such laws have a chilling effect and censoring effect on campuses. A chilling effect and a censoring effect when you are forcing people to make diversity statements, when you're hiring and you're putting that into your admissions process? Yeah, you should be chilled and you should be censored. Stop trying to force people to say and do and accept things. Live your life and leave us out of it. That's what the normal people are saying. Utah State University said this month it would reassign programs and clubs that had been housed under the school's Inclusion Center and would ensure that its Latinx Cultural Center and a proposed Native American Center comply with the law. Based on the name Latinx, I don't think it's going to comply with the law. That's just me talking. The school said it would create a new center for community and cultural matters. Weber State University has closed its division of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion and identity-based centers and reorganized staff positions. At the University of Utah, where staff members are still working out plans for the new centers, Harris, the student, remembered the LGBT Center as a cozy place that made college much easier, and worried about what the changes might mean for future students. Quote, "I could just walk into a space," Harris said, "and I knew that everyone there was safe to talk to." Literally everyone is safe to talk to. If some people make you feel uncomfortable, that's not great, but it's part of life. I talk to people that make me feel uncomfortable, and I can guarantee you this, I make plenty of people uncomfortable. Not deliberately, not intentionally, but it's going to happen. Not everyone agrees with you. Not everybody's going to accept you. Not everybody is part of your family. Not everybody even loves you. You can't go to college and get loved. You go there to get an education, to build a network, to try to find yourself, not to go and be accepted for anything that you say that you are. You have to make your own way and stop asking the government to get involved. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.